This tends to be a little bit of a complicated topic, and what I'm hoping for today is that you walk out with at least a couple of ideas for ways that you might be able to save money on your prescriptions that you may not have known about, you may not have thought about, or maybe you've thought about it, but you don't really know how it works. So you'd like the opportunity to ask somebody in real time questions about it. My background, my name is Patricia Prewitt. I spent 30 plus years in the pharmaceutical industry. I also worked in a pharmacy all during high school and college, way back before they had the pharmacy techs and a lot of the processing that happens now. So I've had a lot of background, and like many of you, have seen a lot of changes in what's happened with multiple medications and how things are processed. So basically, this is my own thing. I'm a consumer education advocate. I am here at no charge. I like to go and do consumer education for groups like this, as well as like at public libraries. Sometimes people will pay me a little bit of a stipend. I do go into small businesses and help do this kind of coaching for employees as a value add for business owners who want to empower their employees how to save money. So I'm here at no cost. I never get reimbursed by any drug. I'm not on the take by anybody. I work privately with people. So that's a little bit of background about who I am. I started this because I was in a lot of doctors' offices in my career, and the doctors didn't really know about different programs. The nurses might not know, the med techs might not know, and everybody's really busy, right? When you go into your doctor's office, they've got 10 minutes. They're going to be talking to you about your health conditions, not necessarily about how and why you could maybe save money. So I'm going to talk about 4 different things really. One is branded copay cards, and then associated with that, which is more applicable really for you guys, is patient assistance programs that are offered by the manufacturers that make branded pharmaceutical drugs, okay? Number 2, I'm going to talk about things like GoodRx and savings cards and when you can use those types of things to help you save money. I will share with you, when I opened my business banking account, the woman at the bank opened her desk drawer, pulled out a GoodRx savings card, and said to me, "What is this? Is this a scam? I don't understand how this works. I don't know if I should use it. They send it to me in the mail." You see these cards kind of all over the place. So I want to give you guys an opportunity to learn about how those work and when you might be able to use them. The next way is to tell you about Cost Plus Drugs, which is offered by Mark Cuban of Shark Tank fame. And he is disrupting, and he really is disrupting the industry by going direct to consumer for certain medications, which can really work for certain things for certain people. So those are kind of the topics I'm going to cover today. And the first one I'm going to talk about, I want you guys, when you see an ad on TV, right? The Jardiance people dancing and all the stuff that's on TV, or you hear an ad on the radio, or you see something in print advertising, I immediately want your brain, I don't care if it looks like it's the best thing since sliced bread, I want your brain to say, that must be an expensive drug, right? They are not going to advertise a drug on TV if it is not expensive or it's new. I'm not going to say that it might not be the best thing for you or for someone you love for that situation, but I want you to be a critically thinking consumer when you see or hear an advertising that says, this is great, this is for this, and a lot of times the language will say, you can get it for $0. And if you can't afford it, we can help you if you call this number. The number at the bottom of the screen is going to be about this big. It's going to be 10 seconds, not even 10 seconds. You're not going to be able to see it. But what I want you guys to understand is about branded copay cards. And I'm going to give this show and tell. This is an example of a branded copay card. It's going to have the drug name on it. It's going to say, hey, you can pay only $30, all right? This is what's called a branded copay card. And sorry, I'm moving around. And on this card are these funny little numbers. They'll give you the bin number, the RX number, all this kind of stuff. Those are the numbers that a pharmacist would use to offset your cost at the pharmacy counter. Now, big caveat, you guys are all Medicare, right? You can't use those. You cannot use those. However, I have adult children. I don't know if you have adult grown children, but if you have adult grown children in your life, I will tell you that these adult grown children also do not understand how copay cards work. And you can be the smarty pants at Thanksgiving if somebody says, gee, my blah, blah, blah was $50. You can be like, well, I think you should go on their website and see if there's a branded copay card. And they will be like, Mom, Dad, that was amazing. I had no idea how that worked.
So I share that with you for two reasons. One, because I have seen with my own children, their insurance coverage is getting less and less and more expensive by the employers.
So they're also looking for ways to save money. And it also, when you go on the website, that is where you will find if they have patient assistance programs for that drug. So likely be careful. You can Google. Google is your best friend. I love to say Eliquis. A lot of people take a brand name drug called Eliquis. Eliquis is, they've got the branded copay cards for people under 65 on regular insurance that if their copay is $50, $60 at the pharmacy, they can go find one of those cards or get it from the doctor's office, and they might only pay $10 or $15 instead. To me, that's real money. You know, you can put it towards your diapers, you can put it towards your child care, you can go out to dinner, okay? Now, the patient assistance programs, and this is something that I am doing handouts for this. This is for 2024. So these are going to change in 2025. But the patient assistance programs that are offered by the brand name, oh look, you brought the good RX cards, good.
But I can't.
Okay. Okay, we'll talk about that. Okay, so these are the income levels that are used for patients for determining patient assistance. Now, the tricky part for this is that every drug and even every drug manufacturer uses a different number. Now, I will share with you, I have a little lady that I worked with last year who called me, who was in the donut hole. She was taking a very expensive medication, working beautifully for her. And she said to me, she said, Trish, she said, I'm widowed. She's like, I've got a pretty good pension, yay me, from my husband, that's great. I also have my own pension. So she said, I don't think I can qualify for patient assistance. And I said, well, let's find out. As it happened, that particular, she was one person, if you follow across, that company used 500% of federal poverty level as their income guideline. She happened to be just under that at about $72,000, which is, in my opinion, a pretty good income on a fixed income if you're widowed, right? But she qualified, and I said, we're going to see if we can't get you patient assistance. Now, the patient, and I've got some examples of some patient assistance applications with me. So if you want to look and see kind of what they ask you, they are going to ask you your income. They're going to ask you how many people are in your household. I like to use these as a guideline because I don't really like to ask people how much they make, but I can research and say this drug uses 500% of poverty level, so if you're under $75,000 a year, let's maybe look at patient assistance for you on that particular drug. Absolutely.
Do you have a list of all these patient-assisted programs?
I
would like one.
I wish I did,
Oh.
and that is a great question.
Yeah,
There are so many,
okay.
and they are always changing.
So the best thing would be to Google that particular drug and see if there's a patient-assisted program through that company manufacturer.
Did you guys hear what she just said? Because she just gave my presentation, okay? So,
I'm sorry.
but no, this is perfect. I love it. Absolutely. Google the name of the drug. Make sure, please make sure that you check the bar that you are literally on that drug name, because other drugs and other companies will advertise to be that first thing that shows up. And if you click too fast, you might find out that you're on a different drug website or some other place that wants to sell you something that's related to drugs. So make sure, and if you guys look in the document that I gave you on page 5, there's a nice graphic of a product called Trelegy, which is an inhaler. And I've circled there how you know you're on the right website and where to look, okay, the things to look for. It's not always easy to find the patient assistance information. Some of the drugs and some of the companies make it very easy. Other companies, you have to click, and then you have to click again, and then you go to the foundation website, and there's all sorts of places that may take some time. However, in my opinion, it's worth looking at, especially if you're faced with very high out-of-pocket costs. Now, I'm always learning, and the rules are always changing. I had a lady earlier this year who had, I'm going to call it a lifestyle drug, okay? It happened to be a women's health type drug for hormones. Younger woman, newer to Medicare. Her doctor had recommended this particular regimen. We found a coupon, a savings card coupon for the product. I said, there is a savings card coupon, but unfortunately, due to the rules, you do not qualify, and I could not find patient assistance for that hormone women's health therapy. I'm not saying this is going to work every time. Younger woman, feisty, okay, feisty, newer to Medicare, kind of was like her hands on her hips. Well, my doctor wants me to take this, and I want to take it, and I really think it's going to help me, and I'm just going to take that copay card to my pharmacy. Her out-of-pocket cost for this medication was going to be $335 a month, okay? She took it to the pharmacy, and you may or may not notice, but on the card that I gave you, there's lots of little tiny print with different rules and different things that a pharmacist would look at. She took that card to her local pharmacy, and this happened to be in Virginia, not even anywhere local. And the pharmacist said, I cannot use that coupon like that, but because you brought this to me, if you are willing to not use your prescription drug plan, I can give you that product for $87 a month. The woman said, check, I will do that. I know it seems crazy. She was feisty. My advice was, I really can't find anything except this is what I found. And she said, I'm going to go ask. Now, I wouldn't ask when the pharmacy line is like 10 people deep. I would ask when it seems to be a little bit quieter. I actually asked this particular person to call me and follow up because I wasn't clear that she would be able to continue to get that medication at that $87 a month, that somehow the powers that be with all of the algorithms and the coding and all of that stuff that happens on the back end might not kick her out and go, oops, sorry, we made a mistake, our error, you're now back up to $330, but wherever the wood is, right? So far, so good. She's getting that prescription at $87 a month. Now, do you guys understand? She is saying, don't use my insurance. Don't use my insurance. I would rather pay you $87 a month for this medication based on how you can get it through the coding than for me to use my insurance and pay $330 a month. Right? It seems counterintuitive, but this is an example of just a little bit of creative thinking sometimes that can work to your advantage, okay? Additionally, and this was very recently, and this actually was just somebody that I know from my church, pulled me aside and said, hey, new drug, can I call you? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, of course, like, call me. So she actually called her plan and said, I'm sorry, this is a new medication, but this is too much money for me. Is there something you could do? And whether or not it was a processing error or what she had been told was not really the case, she was able to get that new drug at a lower price just by asking a question. It doesn't hurt. And I am, be nice, don't be a pill, as my father would have said. Don't be a pill, be nice about it. I can tell you, when I was a pharmaceutical rep and I used these cards to help the doctors with their patients, I would always say, when you're using this prescription and you need it, please give the patient one of these cards at the same time when you give them the prescription. We all know how doctors' offices are. They forget, they run out, they don't think about it. And I can specifically remember because the nurse called me and she said, so-and-so's at the pharmacy in Rhode Island and they're using the card and they're saying it's still gonna be a lot of money. And I said, which pharmacy, blah, blah, blah. I went driving down in my car. By the time I actually got in front of the pharmacist, guess what? We're so sorry. There was like a typo when we tried to put the card in. And I'm a follow-through person. I want to know that what I'm telling somebody is actually going to work. And of course, I didn't want to be embarrassed saying this is going to save your patient money. And now, thank goodness, the nurse called me and she was like, Trish, she's like, we got somebody standing at the pharmacy counter. What's up with this? Can you go fix it? So this has just been my experience from working on the industry side of things that you might want to know. Questions on brand medications? Think about three things. Think about your adult children who have commercial insurance who tell you their copays are crazy, be smart at the dinner table and say, have you looked at going on the website for a copay card and bring it with you to the pharmacy? Because that might actually save you money. Look at me, I'm so smart. Second of all, check out patient assistance for that particular drug by that particular company. Sometimes it's not even through the company itself, it's through a foundation and a charitable foundation that will offer some copay assistance, okay? And thirdly, maybe ask, if you don't use your insurance, is there a better price? Which leads me to your GoodRx. Do you want to hold up your GoodRx card? Because you brought, okay. So, GoodRx cards, they advertise on TV. Single care cards, they advertise on TV. WellCare Saver is another big one. There's another company that I particularly like called Needy Meds. This is going to be something, Jan, if you don't know about, you're going to want to know about for your Shine counselor. So Needy Meds was actually started by a physician and a social worker many years ago. They're a nonprofit. They are based in Gloucester or Marblehead, somewhere on the North Shore. And I've got handouts with this for you guys that I'll give at the end, so you've got this contact information as well. Needy Meds has their own savings card. I like Needy Meds because they do not sell your data. Needy Meds is a nonprofit that does not sell your data. When you are using a GoodRx card or a single care card or a WellCare card, they're selling your data. So there's a lot of other stuff that happens in the background, but they're using your data on the World Wide Web, which is way past what my head can understand. But anyway, so these cards are also a way to maybe save money on your prescriptions, but you again are not using your insurance plan. You are not using your insurance plan. What the pharmacists would advise, and I was speaking with Jan earlier, I had actually had a pharmacist in my audience at one of these, unbeknownst to me, who came up to me afterwards and said, you actually did a really good job. One of the best things that I encourage everybody to do, and you can do this, I like a computer, I also do it on my phone. Let's say you've got a medication that's costing you $20 a month. Not bad, it's generic, but it's still $20 a month. And maybe you've got 3 or 4 of those. I would argue that it might make sense to go on to the GoodRx website, plug in that drug name, and see what they would charge you if you use the coupon and do not use your insurance. Sometimes it's a lot less. Now, I'm also going to take you to page, I'll put my glasses on, take you to page 7. And I'm going to show you guys here. The thing with GoodRx and the savings cards coupons is they can be different at every single pharmacy. This is the exact same medication, the exact same count, and look at the prices. It's between $11.35 to $34.94, at which point I say to myself, I'm paying $20 and I'm using my insurance. Okay, I'm in the range. I'm just gonna let that one go, okay? Maybe. Maybe it's worth it for you for that $10 to use the coupon and not use your insurance. The other thing that's on this page, which is again something that you have to ask your doctor about, but many times there might be a capsule and there might be a tablet. And in this example, the tablet is a lot less expensive than the capsule for the exact same ingredient. Now, that was something that I learned from working behind the pharmacy counter when I was growing up, so to speak, because I had a very kind pharmacist who would say to the customer, would you like me to call your doctor and change that from the capsule to the tablet, because the tablet is going to be much less expensive for you than the capsule. So that's just another little tweak within the pharmaceutical industry. Maybe you can't swallow tablets, right? Maybe the tablets get stuck in your throat and your doctor knows that you really do need the capsule because that slides down easier for you. But sometimes even the exact medication can have two different dosage forms, and maybe one of them is less expensive. And it's impossible for your doctors to keep all of this. It's impossible for anybody to know. But it's another good question to maybe ask if there's a different form. Jan had suggested earlier, sometimes there's, within a class of medications, there's another same, similar, but not quite the same. But again, what I do, it's not up to me to recommend a change, but you can always check with your doctor and say, hey, I just want to let you know, I've been taking this medication for a long time and it's gotten really expensive. Either do I still need to take it, or is there maybe something else I could try that might be a little less expensive? Be a little proactive with your doctors. One of the things I really advocate, and this is in the booklet and I've got extra, have a list of everything that you take. Have a list. I actually created this because the ones that I saw in my doctor's offices were about this big, and I don't know about you, but I don't write that small. So I wanted one that I felt like I could actually have room to write on, and I couldn't find one that I liked, so I made one. So I've got extras of these, and while I don't think you need to know all the nuances of your drugs, I think as a consumer, you should know, I take the Eliquis for my heart. I take the inhaler for my lungs. I take the capsule for problems with my belly. And that is also kind of on my list, because sometimes people are not seeing the whole picture for you, right? So systems are pretty good. I happen to be the medical person that goes with the seniors in my life. And most of the time, the physicians now will ask you to check the drug list. And I can tell you the last 3 visits, there's been changes that were not picked up on the computer. There have been things that are dropped. And you really do need to pay attention for yourself with these systems. Additionally, if you're seeing a specialist, for example, like an ophthalmologist or an ENT or maybe a gastroenterologist, if they're part of a different system, those medications might not be in your file. I know I have one, our grandmother, she's in 2 different systems, and every time, I'm old, she's old, we get printouts. And we bring it with us to the doctor's office, to her primary, and every time he says, thank you so much for bringing this, because he might get it eventually when those computer systems and the visits all, integrate and tie up with each other. But you have to pay attention these days to your own stuff. Okay, you asked me a question about GoodRx and said you couldn't use it. I want to hear more.
They just handed it back and said it's not in the book.
Okay, so the trick with using a GoodRx card and this comes from the pharmacist who was actually at like one of my meetings, that's a lot of work for them to hand this card and say, I would like to use the GoodRx card. Now I'm going to show you something else. Here's what you need. If instead of saying, here's this, right, you have gone on the website or on your phone, you can do it on your phone too. This is a drug called escitalopram. It's like generic for Lexapro. And this is your medication that you want. Instead of giving the pharmacist this general card, you come and you give the pharmacist this and say, this is my medication. This is what GoodRx said they would charge me for it. The difference is the exact medication is there and those numbers are there that are specific for that medication. Do you see the difference? Mm-hmm. So let me show you guys this, because this is sometimes, if you've got a good pharmacist or a good tech, they might do the work for you. But if you as the customer come and say, I've done my research, this is what I found if I use my GoodRx coupon, now can you put it in? Because what's happening, did you see this? So this is the actual drug name, and this is specific numbers for that drug for GoodRx for that price.
So you go on the computer.
You go on there, or your phone.
Go to RX, because that's the card, or any card.
Or any of those cards, right?
And print out that and bring it to the pharmacy rather than the card.
Or take a picture of it on your phone.
Okay.
So let's think about this from a processing standpoint, okay? I've got 10 people in line. I'm the pharmacy tech, right? Now, you come and hand me that card. You've got 10 people behind you. You're asking me to go into the GoodRx website, to look up that particular drug, to look up that dose, to look up how much 90 days is. Versus I'm walking up and saying, I did this. Can you match this price? Can you give me this price with this coupon? I had another lady last year who walked up and did that actually at a Shaw's Osco pharmacy with a GoodRx coupon. And because she had done the work, she told me afterwards, she said, I didn't need the coupon. He actually had a better coupon that he knew about for single care and gave me a better price.
Oh, nice.
Right? Proactive. Do your own research. Proactive. The lady with the hormone thing, kind of a funny story. She did all the work. We talked about it. I said, you can try it. Like, I don't know, try it, see what happens. She got to the pharmacy. She had essentially this kind of coupon. Well, she didn't have it. She just had it in her head. She had to go outside on her phone, re-enroll. She re-enrolled on her phone because she forgot to bring the coupon that they sent to her email that had the numbers on it. So the pharmacist said, I can see what I can do for you, but I can't do this. So I was laughing. I said, well, what did they do? And she said, well, of course. I went back out to my car, got on my phone, put in my stuff. They sent me the email. She got it on her email, took a screenshot, went back into the pharmacy and said, there's the numbers for me, registered to my name for that particular drug. What can you do? It's work. I'm not saying it's not work, but there are some ways to save some money if you're willing to put in a little work or know about and understand a little bit more about what the processing is like on the other side. Okay? And it's always changing. So that's also the tricky part. It's always changing. Cost plus drugs. Anybody heard about cost plus drugs? Anybody heard of Mark Cuban?
Yeah.
Shark Tank fame? Okay. I find this fascinating. In In 2022, Mark Cuban of Shark Tank fame decided that he was going to take on the pharmaceutical industry for processing of prescription drugs. Way more money than I would ever have, and clearly has a ton of money. The company is set up as a public benefits company. Now, I have Googled that. I'm not entirely sure what that means. It's not a nonprofit, but I'm sure there's tax advantages or something for him. I don't know. Anyway, 2022, he started with 100 medications on his website, all generics, and he has transparent pricing, which means whatever he pays for the drug, it shows up on his website as to your real cost plus 15%, plus a $5 pharmacy fee to like package it up and get it out to you, $5 shipping. Now, again, you have to do your research, but I will say the Cost Plus Drugs website is beautiful. It is big, you can read it, you can type in your medications, and I'm gonna walk around and show you what this looks like. What medication was this? I think this was also Lexapro that I was looking at.
Are there other companies besides his that do this?
Amazon is trying to get back into it,
Okay.
but Amazon only if you're a Prime member, and I still don't think they're ready for Prime time, in my opinion. So their website looks like, here's your drug cost with us. Your retail price at the pharmacy would be $175.50. The manufacturing cost of that drug is $3.60. I'm going to charge you 90% markup for 15%. Then my pharmacy labor is $5 and your shipping is $5. Okay? Very transparent. 5, 10, 360. So that's going to be what, roughly $14 for that prescription. Now, again, what are you paying for that generic? These are almost all generic products that he's doing. If you're paying $15 at the pharmacy compared to $14, probably not worth it, right? But I have seen instances where Mark Cuban Cost Plus Drugs was $14 and the person was paying 30, 35, 40, 45. This gentleman that I was telling you had me do a holistic review of his entire list. All but one of his medications was offered from Cost Plus Drugs. It was a no-brainer for him. He's like, this is going to save me so much money to transfer my prescriptions to him. And I've had people tell me that they will package drugs together. So I do know from one of my library meetings last year, the woman, because I follow up, and I said, I'm just curious, because she said, I changed to Cost Plus Drugs for 2 of my chronic medications. And I said, did they mail them together, or did they charge you $5 mailing and another $5 mailing? And she said, I think because I did it at the same time, I get them together. So now she's saved another $5, and we've got less stuff going in the mail because they're shipping the 2 drugs together for that one $5 shipping cost.
So do you have the website for that?
I do, and that's also on my handout.
So that's another option, especially for generic medications. Again, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of numbers floating in your head
To sort of say, well, okay, this one, and then you've got to decide, is it worth me changing to go to Walmart because that's going to save me another $4, and I hate that parking lot and I don't really want to go there, and it's another 5 miles down the road, so I'm probably spending that in gas. I mean, everybody's got to make their own decisions, but especially with the generics, the non-branded, the non-expensive medications, prices are all over the place. If you guys have ever played that whack-a-mole game, you know, it's like whack-a-mole. It's like you think you got it figured out, and then all of a sudden, and we're about to get into the drug plan changes. Everybody, please don't ignore those notices talk to somebody about your drug plan and the changes that are going to happen next year, because there's going to be a lot of changes next year. So what was covered for you good this year might not be covered so well for you in 2025, and that happens all the time. So I've talked a lot. There are also some places
that you can go for grants that can help on out-of-pocket costs that aren't typically related specifically to diseases. There's a lot out there for cancer.
There's a lot out there for kidney disease. They are basically in pretty big, significant chronic disease kind of categories. My favorite, which is on this handout, Jan, you were asking if there's one place to go.
Right, with the patient assistance.
The best one place I have found is needymeds.org, which is right here in Massachusetts, which is a nonprofit. They also have the savings cards to help you that don't sell your data. They are a repository of a lot of that information, and they have real humans that pick up the phone.
Is it a foundation?
It's a foundation. It is a 501c3 charity. It was started by a doctor right here in Massachusetts and a social worker. I think they are an amazing resource. I also think their website is, there's a lot. So it's a lot for your brain to kind of look at and see. But that is, and Jan, I don't know if you also use this one, Mass College of Pharmacy, which is the Massachusetts Pharmacy School that's based in Worcester. They have a staffed line with available pharmacists. You will wait. I will tell you, you will wait. You might have to leave a phone number, but that is another resource that we have here in Massachusetts that I feel like we're very fortunate to have. So the other handout I have, I've talked about a lot of different websites, so I kind of collated them into at least how my brain works. I talk about brands, I talk about savings cards, I talk about patient assistance, and these are just, I've not really talked about the federal extra help program. If you are very low income and you really have almost no resources, definitely reach out to extra help. The other place that I was introduced to by a pharmacy friend who had me on speed dial for one of his drugs, for one of the samples that I had. But he was actually the state association for the Rhode Island pharmacists for quite a while. He introduced me to a website that's, and this is on the list too, called benefits.org, which was actually put together by the Council on Aging. And the thing that I like about benefits.org is that it is one intake. So you do one kind of fill in the blank, here's my situation, and then it will populate back to you some of the things that you are eligible for. And the reason why I mention that is because the Extra Help program by the federal government is tied into the benefits.org website. And this particular pharmacist said it's way easier, in his opinion, to do it from that website than it is to call Social Security. So, for what that's worth. Whew, it's a lot. I'm sorry it's kind of complicated, but did you guys learn? So this is the time to pick my brain. If I can answer, I'll answer.
Do you present to nurse practitioners?
My
wife is a nurse practitioner.
Yep,
She specializes in geriatrics.
okay,
She has a practice.
yep,
And she has a team of nurse practitioners
Yep.
that work with
yep. I would come and do a presentation if invited. I've,
Where's her practice?
her. And the office is in Braintree, but
Braintree?
she's mobile a lot.
yep,
And we live in Midmore.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
yep.
She works out of the home a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I mean, I actually have a local practice right now who's trying to figure out a time to have me come in and do maybe a little bit of an abbreviated, and I'd probably use a PowerPoint in that kind of format, in an office format. But I am open to doing that. I am really not making any money. If you know of a small business, like this is, my brainchild is that for a small business, this is a good way to spend $200 to bring me in to educate the employees.
That's right, yes,
good.
receptionist.
And it's a one-time, it's really about empowering the employees. I've had a couple of small businesses from the chamber actually invite me to do that, which has been, in my opinion, a win-win. The business owner looks nice. It's not a lot of money. It's at least helping me to make a little bit of money, because I don't get paid by any of these people. I just, people want to work with me privately. I do that at what I think is a very affordable price to help them and get on the phone with them. But I can't go to the pharmacy with you. I can, for example, Jan, I could see your brain moving. Let's say it's a product like Lexapro, and I know there's cost plus drugs, and I know there's single care, and I know there's needy meds, and I know there's this. I can spend the time to cull that down and say, okay, for you, for your zip code, for that dose, for that drug, here are your top 2 options. So that's time on my part. So that's why, and then I have people who walk out of here, which I hope you guys do, and go, oh my goodness, I learned something today. I can go home and do this on my own, right? Like, yay you. So what I don't want you to do, which I have had people do, is take this product, which is a brand called Linzess, and plug it into GoodRx or Single Care or one of the savings cards. It's going to come up $500. You go to the brand. If it's an expensive brand, you go to the brand website, register for the brand card, if you can, if your insurance allows. So.